my fellows, welcome to another episode where we're going to talk about ways to fight winter depression. In the previous episodes we talked about vitamin D3 and also about the effects of the blue light. But today we're going to talk about something that is very surprisingly not that known. Take a look at the symptoms of a person with the common cold. You probably felt the same way. You were feeling weak, you didn't want to go out, you had less appetite, you were not interested in any activities, and you were in a bad mood. On a short term, this behavior is positive because this allows the body to heal up faster. During a common cold, the body feels under attack, so it's trying to save resources and energy to fight the infection. But now, if you look at the symptoms of a depressed person, you'll find out that they are also kind of similar. You also feel weak. You don't have any interest in activities, you don't want to go out, you're in a bad mood, and you have less appetite. So, what is the reason for this similarity? Well, they both have in common something, which is inflammation. You see, for years we heard that depression is the lack of a hormone called serotonin, or the malfunction of the receptors in the brain for this hormone or for other related hormones. But today, there's new evidence supporting a link between depression and inflammation. If you take a look at the study, depressed individuals have more than a genetical expression of inflammatory biomarkers. And in this other study, it's written that there is a link between inflammation and depression, that inflammatory processes, they can cause inflammation that can in turn lead to depression. And there is also increasing evidence that inflammation can cause depression because of the increase of the cytokines. The cytokines are part of the inflammatory process, and they can set the brain into a sickness mood. That's why classical symptoms of being physically sick, like lethargy, they show an overlap in behavior that are similar with the depression. Basically what's happening is that because of the high level of inflammation, the body thinks that they're under attack. So it's going to try to save up time and resources by putting you in the sick mood, that it helps him to heal you faster. So that's why depressed individuals have very similar symptoms to those that have a normal cold. For example, you want to isolate yourself, you have less appetite, you're not motivated into going out or trying any new activity. So it seems like the huge problem here is the inflammation. Okay, you might be wondering, why did I broke this pen? Good question. Well, in Italian there is a way of saying called spezzare la lancia, which means that you are trying to defend also another perspective that is seen as negative. Actually, spezzare la lancia means break the bow or something like that, but I don't have a bow. This is the most similar thing that I found as a bow. Now, what I want to say is that inflammation, it's not a bad thing. Actually, it's part of our immune system and it's a very important mechanism. The problem with inflammation appears when it becomes chronic. Now, with this video, I'm not trying to suggest that you should never get sick and you should never have inflammation. All I'm saying is that by lowering the level of inflammation, we're not only going to feel better in our bodies, but as new studies suggested, we are also going to be able to fight depression. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use the secret of a population in Europe that has the lowest levels of depression. What I'm talking about is a polyphenol that you can find in the olive tree. More specifically, the olive leaves, because those are the ones that have the higher amount of this polyphenol. So let's see what this molecule can do for us. So you can read in scientific papers that the effect of this molecule, that by the way, I'm not going to pronounce because it's written like this, but I don't know why. Nobody apparently on Google knows how to pronounce it. Anyways, the effects are antibacterial, antiviral, it has a lot of protective effects, it's an antioxidant, it's an aphrodisiac, if you know what I mean. But most importantly, it's anti-inflammatory. Anyways, you can see in the studies about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease that by using this kind of supplement, they could successfully suppress inflammation and reduce the damage done by the oxidative stress. And if we go even more specifically, you could see how the olive leaves, they could help lower the anxiety and the depression in mice. By the way, if you're wondering how they measure depression in mice, no, they don't have a therapist there. There are two tests. One is called the forced swim test, and the other one has a weird name, so I have to read it. It's called Elevated Plus Maze. It's actually not that difficult. Anyways, in the forced swim test, they force the mice to swim in a very narrow space, and they have no way of escaping. And the more they try to find an escape, the less level of depression gets registered. And in this other one, the elevated plus maze. So basically what they do is that they put the mice in a space that is elevated from the ground, and it has two closed arms and two open arms. And the more time they spend in the open arms, the less levels of anxiety. So apparently by supplementing their diets with this kind of molecule, they all registered levels of depression and of anxiety that were lower. But don't worry for the mice, because they do this kind of test also for the humans. The elevated plus maze. It's just that they use the virtual reality, because let's be fair, the institutes don't want to pay for emotional damage for the rest of their lives. Okay, now back on track. No more talking about depressed mice. So there are two ways that you can use to add this polyphenol to your diet. The first one is by making a tea with the olive leaves. And the second one is by using a supplement. So the thing with the tea is that we are going to feel the olopane. And the olopane is very, very bitter. And there is a reason why it's bitter. Because this is the protection mechanism that this plant has against bugs and other pathogens to protect itself. If you think about nicotine or caffeine, they also have a bitter taste because they're also part of the protection mechanism for the plant. Also in this case, olopane is going to be bitter. Yeah, still bad. Or you can supplement it this way. This bottle has the extract of the olive leaves, and to prove it to you, you can take a look here. It's written in Italian, but hey. Basically, the molecule in this kind of form got divided into hydrotyrosol, which has a pleasant taste. And you also have the taste of the calendula, which is a flower and gives you a much nicer and better experience. And by the way, these are all natural products, so you can really feel confident and safe with them. So there are more products like this on the market, but the reason why I'm picking this one is because it is the original one, and it's also cheaper compared to the other ones in the market, and still has the same quality. And as you saw, there are only 2 ingredients in it. A bottle like this usually lasts 2 weeks because you're going to drink every day only very little from it, like this. So this is how I take it in the morning. It should be like 75 milliliters, which are more or less like a cup of coffee in Europe, not in America, because I know you make the coffee there differently. And yeah, that's it. Because this is a natural product and it's not synthesized in the laboratory, it will take a bit more time for you to see the effects on the body. That's why what I recommend is to take at least 6 bottles, which are the equivalent of 3 months. If you take just 1 or 2 bottles just to try them out, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see the effects, and this might discourage you. And I don't want you to waste your time and your money into something that it might work just halfway. So that's why I would suggest to take at least 6 bottles. Now, because I don't want to be biased, I looked for the side effects on different scientific papers, and all that I found is that the olive leaves, they could interfere with blood pressure medication. So in this case, you should consult your doctor first. And also, like all the antioxidants, this could provoke stomach pain. So in this case, you could mix the extract with water and then just drink it through all the day. So here we are, we concluded the series about winter depression. Now you have 3 allies that are strong and they can be next to you and help you. And I will see you in the next videos.